before game one is in the books.
Excellent. So, in the West, I think the Clippers are going to win, and I think it's going to be Lakers-Clippers. I think the Lakers are going to beat them because Montrezl Harrell has been horrendous in the postseason so far, and that's huge for them because if he doesn't play well, they can't guard Anthony Davis at all. So that's going to be a problem. They had that trouble during the regular season. It's going to be a bigger problem in the playoffs. But let's look to the Eastern Conference because that's what you're talking about. Making our predictions in the Eastern Conference Finals. We mentioned it is the Heat and the Celtics. I have to say I had been really, really high on the Celtics. And the more I look at this series and I start to break it down, Jason, the more I think that the Heat have a chance. And there's two reasons for that. One is that I don't know how much Gordon Hayward is going to play in this series. I don't know how much Gordon Hayward we're going to get. I think that's a big problem for them. But the second thing is I look at this Heat team, Jason, and I just see a team that doesn't have many holes. And I feel like what the Heat are going to be able to do, and I haven't watched this game yet. I plan on watching it tomorrow so that I can do this podcast. But I think that they're going to try and play really solid defense on the Celtics, try to take Kemba Walker kind of out of the game. And from there, I think they're going to try and get enough offense out of the pick and roll and so on to kind of just eke out these wins over the Celtics. And I think that's the kind of game they're going to play. And I think this series is really going to swing on Daniel Tice. I know that's a weird place to say it, but I think he's going to be one of the key places in how Stevens adjusts. Because if Tice is out there in pick and rolls, I think that's going to be a problem. I think that the Heat are going to attack Daniel Tice when he's on the floor, and the same for Robert Williams. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Stevens does to adjust. Does he go to a zone? Can he do that with all the shooting that Miami has? And that kind of adjustment on defense, I think this series is going to be won and lost with the way that they defend the Heat, because I think the Heat are going to do a good job on the Celtics. The Celtics will get theirs, but I think they're going to do a good enough job. If the Celtics can play great defense against the Heat and really shut them down, they win this series. And I think a lot of that's going to start with their big men against the Heat.
I think this is all about momentum. Honestly, the Heat have momentum. I know the Celtics are tired. They had the 7-game series against the Raptors, and they had the tougher matchup in the second round. And I think that might catch up with them. The Heat just have it right now. They have the it factor. They have the momentum. They are balling. And I think the Heat are going to win this series in 7. I'm going to say that because the way Butler's got these guys rallied around each other, hitting big shots. And it's not like it's one guy doing it. They're getting contributions from Nunn and Hero and Crowder and Iggy and, Bam, Jimmy, Dragic. They are a deep team, and they're playing probably the best basketball out of any team right now outside of the Lakers.
Yeah, I think the thing that they're going to run into here is I think the kind of the X factor is obviously Tice, as I mentioned, and the big men for the Celtics. I think the player who could really make his case here is Jason Tatum. This could be the series that Jason Tatum says, "Screw all you guys, I am a superstar. You better put respect on my name."
He's already saying that, and he's got the respect on his name.
I just mean he's in the if they win this series and they go to the finals, you have to put him in the Lillard, LeBron part of the top 10. Will you take him over Luka Doncic? Ooh. You have to start saying, "Oh, maybe," because that's a guy who's turned into not just a really good offensive player, Jason, and he's that. He is a great shooter who. There's a phenomenal piece on ESPN for all the NBA fans who are listening to this. I strongly recommend anything that Kirk Goldsberry writes, but he had a great piece on ESPN today about one of the key pieces of Jason Tatum's game that he talks about is his ability to create unassisted threes, which are basically the lifeblood of NBA offense now because they're one of the hardest to defend shots, and if you can get those consistently, they're almost impossible to take away. And Jason Tatum is putting himself in the Steph Curry, James Harden realm of that shot. And that makes him almost impossible to guard. And the fact that he's as good as he is on defense means he's, whether you have him there now or not, he's a guy who could slip into that top tier of guys of AD, LeBron, Lillard, those types of players. And that's the thing that's going to really determine where the Celtics go as a future team. I think this series he's going to be good. If he's great, the Celtics win the series, I think, in like 5 games. If he's good, I would say this is a toss-up 7 games type series. So I think him and the big men for the Celtics are going to be keys for this series. But I have the Celtics winning. I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit here and say Celtics in 6. But that's the way I'm going on this one.
All right, good. Let's write this down for everyone scoring at home. So we're going, let's see, Jason, Heat in 7, Ben Celtics in 6. Loser buys the yard.
I love it. Love it. And we'll put down, I'm going to already say, I think the Lakers are winning regardless of who comes in here.
Man, you're flip-flopping on your picks too much, man.
Hey, I base my picks on what I'm seeing, so more information.
I baseline my jumpers, and on this podcast, we tell the truth. We stick to our guns.
There's not too many baseline jumpers in today's NBA, I realized. I was watching some old highlights, and there's a lot of them, and now there's almost none. It's sort of sad, actually, in a way. But, Jason, do we have anything else we wanted to touch on? I know we got to talk a little bit about Steve Nash. I know there's some coaching openings, but I don't know if we're going to talk about that today. Is there anything else you kind of wanted to hit before we drop off today?
I'm just stoked for the Steve Nash hire in Brooklyn. It came out of complete left field. I mean, I think it was Thursday the 3rd, and my phone just blew up. Steve Nash is the next coach. I love it because it came out of left field, and he doesn't have any prior head coaching experience, but he's a great basketball mind, and he gets along with KD and Kyrie, and he's got a premeditated relationship with him. So I'm stoked about it. I'm just a little surprised because there are 6 now head coaching openings in the NBA. Sixers, your Bulls, Pacers getting rid of McMillan, the Pelicans, the Rockets, D'Antoni resigning, and the Thunder in a surprise move parting ways with Billy Donovan after the year they had. So I wonder if teams are waiting to interview a lot of these assistant coaches on these playoff teams and seeing what comes out of it, because there are a lot of good coaches out there. So that's all I'll say. I'm stoked for Nash. I think the East is going to be wide open next year, and I'm just ready for KD to take the court in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, that offense is going to be really interesting to watch how he sets up the offense. I mean, we know who Steve Nash was as a player. He's going to have some serious decisions to make, in terms of that lineup. Who's going to start? Does Karis LeVert start at the 2? I mean, he's earned that with the way that he's played, but you do have to wonder if they're going to play maybe a guy more like Garrett Temple or something who fits a little bit more with what Kyrie and KD like to do on offense. You got to think they're going to bring back Joe Harris. Like that's a must. And I know that Sean Marks already said that, but there's some questions, and it's going to be really interesting to see. Do they try to do more moves to get another star? There's a lot to see with the Nets. So, Jason, I think you and me might be talking a little bit more about the Nets as the off season goes along. But anything else for the people before we let them go?
No, I'm going to get my popcorn, watch the last 30 seconds of this Heat Celtics game, and then buckle in for Game 7. So thank you guys for rocking with us. Appreciate it after we had a week off, and, just thank you.
We'll see all you guys next week. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review, and enjoy the playoff basketball.
Peace out, Cub Scouts.